Last year, the Sabrina 2s made a huge splash for basketball sneakers. Ton of NBA players with the Sabrina 2s. I personally feel like that's my favorite basketball shoe right now. And this year, another highly anticipated women's basketball sneaker is dropping for A'ja Wilson, one of the most accomplished women's basketball players ever. And just like her game, I think they really made a huge splash with these. Nike A1 Indigo Girl. Now, the shoe first dropped on May 15th for $110 in the United States. Of course, this is a very highly anticipated shoe for A'ja Wilson, and this is the second colorway to come out. It is officially titled Indigo Girl, and according to Nike.com, it is inspired by her childhood nickname and her bright blue energy. I'm not quite sure what bright blue energy looks like in practice in the real world, but it is what it is, and first impressions of this shoe, I love it. When I first saw pictures of the A1, just the shape itself, just disregarding the performance and technical aspects of the shoe, I just really loved how it looks. I think it looks so sleek. This colorway looks great. It's kind of like a nighttime, sleek looking shoe. Yeah. Compared to the Sabrina 2s, my favorite basketball shoe right now, I prefer the shape of these, even the A1s, which a lot of people loved how that looked. I think it's close. Really, in 2025, do you see a basketball shoe where you're like, I could wear those off court? The Book ones, they made a very deliberate effort to make those wearable on and off the court, and I think it works. I think honestly, if you want to go for a casual look outside of basketball, could wear these. I love it. And the materials on the shoe, it is majority textile. You see around the eye stays, the synthetic leather there. The textile doesn't feel like super great. You can't expect that for a $110 shoe. Feels pretty cheap, and it does look pretty worn after one use, so nothing too great there. And on the swoosh itself, that is pearlized on purpose. That is meant to be a reference to a pearl necklace that A'ja Wilson's grandmother gave her. I think that actually looks pretty cool, gives the shoe a bit of an extra dimension, an extra pop there. It is kind of reflective there too, and you do see some mesh on the tongue, and you can probably tell just from the material setup, you're not going to get a whole ton of breathability on this shoe. Get this pretty well padded tongue with A'ja Wilson's logo in the middle there, and you see that kind of star logo with the number 1 next to it. That star is something A'ja Wilson always puts in her signature, so in the A she'll draw a star, and it's also meant to reference A'ja Wilson being a star. A lot of people weren't too sure about the logo itself. I think it's actually a pretty unique and cool looking logo. And then behind the tongue on the left and right shoe, it is mismatched. You'll see Celtic symbols that stands for mom and dad, and then wrapping around the booty of the shoe, you will see A'ja branding there. That is actually its own piece, so it's not cheaply printed or anything. Now the shoe doesn't come with any extra laces, just blue laces out of the box. Kind of makes sense. They're going for a very blue kind of colorway. If I had to choose, maybe white laces would make this colorway really pop. Even pink, that's obviously a theme for A'ja Wilson, so maybe even go wild with those, but blue laces, I'm happy. And the box of the shoe, like I said before, pink is a huge theme for her. Her logo, as well as A'ja branding all over. Same thing with the paper, branding there. Now in terms of the cushioning for the A1s, it comes with Cushlon 3.0 foam that is wrapped around in a slightly denser and firmer Phylon carrier. Now, Cushlon 3.0, I love. That was on the Sabrina 2s, my favorite basketball shoe right now. That was actually the first time the Cushlon 3.0 was put onto a basketball shoe, and for this setup, it is slightly softer than how the Sabrina 2s feel on feet, but I really like how it feels underfoot. Nice and soft, very plush. Now one trade-off, when you explode off your feet, you really want as much energy to return as possible. Sometimes with cushioning that's a little too soft, a little too plush, that might not be as prominent. For someone that is over 30 years old like myself, where I don't have the best knees, I do prefer a softer type of cushioning, not super firm, and it does feel pretty good in terms of impact absorption. Doesn't quite sit as low as some other shoes. I shot the B-roll for the Kobe, which Kobe shoe was it? The Mambasita one that just came out very recently. I shot the B-roll for that shoe right after this, and immediately when you switch shoes, you can definitely feel the difference in terms of how close you are to the ground. So this isn't super low profile, so if you're really prioritizing that, you might want to try it on feet first in a store or something. But yeah, just keep that in mind. Now, one thing that I'm not too sure yet is the durability of the Kushlon 3.0. I have worn my Sabrinas a ton, pretty much every week for the past year, but I do have 2 pairs, so I switch and rotate between them, but I wear it at least once or twice a week. No problems yet with the durability of the foam, but I'm very light. If you're a heavy player, you might bottom that thing out real quickly, so I can just say based on my experience, no durability issues yet, but I don't know if that is like a hard and fast like rule. We will see. And you also see this kind of TPU frame that is to give the shoe a bit more lateral support. And in terms of the traction here, this is what Nike calls micro-tune traction. Personally, I think it was decent traction, pretty good, but it's not great. Like I said before, I shot the B-roll of the Kobe 9 Protro Mambasita right after this, and immediately, same floor, same gym, same day, same conditions. No one came and cleaned it between B-rolls. Yeah, you could definitely feel the difference. And the Kobe 9s, I feel like you actually have to wear that traction in a bit to get the most out of it. This, probably kind of the same thing, but immediately you could feel the difference. This is good traction. I wouldn't say it's elite. And small little detail here, right around the swoosh, you will see a quote that says, "As a matter of fact, the best is yet to come." That is a quote that A'ja Wilson's grandmother used to tell her. And on the very heel here, that is one of her favorite own quotes. And it says, "Weakness? Weakness? We don't got time for that." And on the very top of the toe box here, you'll see more A'ja Wilson branding. Now, the rubber here is actually decently thick, decently strong, so you could probably play outdoors in this shoe. The patterns and grooves aren't like super close together. Actually, you might get some rocks stuck between parts of the shoe, but yeah, I think you could play decently outdoors in the shoe. Now, unfortunately, there is no Zoom Air on the shoe at all, so it's just really relying on the Kushlon foam. Would have preferred if they gave like a Zoom Turbo unit maybe, or some type of Zoom Air cushioning just to add to the responsiveness of the shoe. And in terms of the overall stability and support, remember, I'm a very lightweight player, so keep that in mind. It is very decent. I didn't feel like at any part where I was cutting hard or stopping on a dime, going side to side, where I felt like I was going to roll my ankles, I was really going to hurt myself. I didn't feel any lack of stability in any area. The heel counter is pretty stiff too, so that really helps with heel stability. And TPU frame, as well as the materials on the upper of the shoe, I do feel like it keeps your feet pretty locked in place. And at no part I felt like I was gonna really bust through the materials and like really roll my ankles. I had that problem with the GT Cut 3s that I recently reviewed. That was one thing that I didn't love. The base of this shoe here is actually decently wide as well, adds a bit more stability to it. The outrigger isn't like insanely aggressive, but it does the job. There is a shank plate in the midfoot area of the shoe. It's not carbon fiber or anything, but I do like midfoot plates. I don't like full length plates. I feel like that can feel too stiff. Takes a bit to wear in and kind of get used to. Midfoot plate works well for me, and it also adds the torsional rigidity of the shoe, so you don't want it to be like really twisty and bendy. That can be really bad for injuries. Overall support for a light player like me, you shouldn't have any problems. And so the shoe, you see her logo on the heel. I cannot rip it out for the life of me. Don't want to rip it apart. But quality wise, it's not great. Now in terms of sizing and comfort, I am a wide and flat footer. This is one thing that the A1s took a while for people to get right. Even if you don't have wide and flat feet, I feel like you could probably go up half a size. For me, I went up half a size and it is super snug. I wouldn't go up like a full size. I feel like there would just be too much heel slippage for my feet. So half a size, you do still feel pretty snug in the forefoot area. But once you break this material in and break it in, really wear this shoe, you shouldn't feel any pain there. In terms of heel slippage, none at all. If you use the top eyelet especially, and speaking of the top eyelet, you see it is actually in the shape of that star that is part of her logo. One thing I will say is that area, especially the medial side, did start to give me a bit of pain. Kind of like the hard and nines, it was just a bit of a nuisance, but as I played more and more, that kind of went away. Just something to keep in mind there. But no heel slippage, that really locks your heel in place. So if you do have wide and flat feet, I do still recommend just going up half a size if you can. If you're not playing ball in them and heel slippage isn't like a huge issue, and if you have wide feet with no arches, you may be able to go up a full size. In terms of overall comfort, under feet, it feels soft, it feels plush. You're just walking around in these, I think these are super comfortable, provided you can find the right sizing. Now in terms of the overall weight for the shoe, probably no surprises there. It is not the absolute lightest shoe that you can find on the market, but it is still pretty light. You should not have any problems with this being too chunky and heavy. A lot of people had problems with the AE ones. I have a very high threshold for like weight of basketball shoes. Even the AE ones, I didn't feel like it was too heavy where I wouldn't play ball in them. The A ones, I definitely didn't have any issues. This was without a doubt a very anticipated basketball sneaker release, at least for myself. When I first saw images of this shoe, I was like, I think this looks great. This looks really, really good. Is it as good as the Sabrina 2s? Final verdict for this, I don't think so. I prefer that slightly lower ride on the Sabrina 2s. The overall fit is better as well for my feet. I also think the traction, honestly, for me, the Sabrina 2s are slightly better. For whatever reason, I just didn't love the traction on these. They're good, pretty decent. On a well-maintained gym, you should have zero problems. On a pretty dusty gym, yeah, you might have to wipe your shoes a few times. But still, with all that said, the cushioning of the shoe, as well as the design, especially the design of the shoe, is great, especially for a debut. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Soul and Clyde. Let me know what you think of the A1 Indigo Girl. Like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. And remember, tomorrow may never come. The wear your shoes.